In the midst of a casual conversation with his friend, Shen, a young boy, receives an unexpected friend request. The request is from a girl who had recently gained popularity on his live stream. Intrigued, Shen inquires if she is the famous ZZ. To his surprise, she responds, "I am not ZZ, but a fan. My name is Shenen." Frustrated, Shen retorts, "If you are Shenen, then am I a donkey?" Yet he can't help but message her back, intrigued by the uncanny coincidence of their shared names. "We both share the same name and surname," the opposite side replies. "I am really you, but from 10 years in the future." He replies, "You are an illegitimate child, and my less wise version. I am here to ensure your prosperity and guide you to the pinnacle of your life. Trust me, if you don't wait for 5 minutes, a minor earthquake will strike, causing your favorite food shop to collapse." Shin is taken aback. How could he know about his illegitimate birth, a secret he had never shared? Dismissing it as a wild imagination fueled by reading too many novels, Shin decides to grab a bite at his favorite food shop. As he places his order, he notices the water in his glass trembling. An earthquake? Here? He recalls the message from his future self. He checks the time on his phone. Exactly 5 minutes have passed. As predicted, the earthquake strikes, and his beloved food shop crumbles before his eyes. Shocked and awed, Shin messages him again. "Brother, you are truly incredible. There really was an earthquake. How did you know?" His skepticism has turned into belief, and his journey into the unknown is beginning. "I've been telling you this for a decade now. Remember?" There was a pause, filled with the weight of realization. "I am you, from 10 years ahead," he continued, his tone urging understanding. "You hesitated to believe me, but look where we are now. What's done is done. Now, let's focus on the crux of the matter," he pressed on, a sense of urgency coloring his words. "That earthquake? It wasn't your typical tremor. It was Yuan Yang's expansion causing the ground to convulse violently. In 8 days, the world will witness a monumental shift," he warned, the gravity of the situation hanging heavy in the air. "You must seize this opportunity with precision, or face dire consequences in a decade. And dying within it. And believe me, I'm not lying," he asserted firmly, "because I am you. Tonight marks the inaugural release of Yuan Yang's realm into ours," he explained, a sense of urgency creeping into his voice. "You mustn't squander this chance, for many remain oblivious to its existence. Head to the western outskirts of Ling Mountain before nightfall," he instructed, his tone leaving no room for hesitation. "There you'll find a lake exuding a fragrant gas. Sit by its shore, inhale deeply, but make sure you're not a moment too late." Shin arrived at the designated spot, his mind swirling with doubts. "If I disclose this to anyone, they'll brand me insane," he muttered under his breath. In the distance, police cars wound their way up the mountain, a young, striking woman emerging from one. "Ensure no civilians enter this area," she commanded with authority. "Yes, ma'am," came the obedient reply from her subordinate. Observing from his covert vantage point, Shin pondered. "Is this the result of Yuan's expansion? I must investigate." With a click, he illuminated the darkness with his torch, determination etched on his face. "That lake must be nearby," he mused aloud. Finally reaching the lake's edge, he peered into its depths and murmured, "This must be it." He gazed upon the lake, commenting to himself, "It's rather small, isn't it? It's a good thing I took the longer route around the mountain," he remarked, a sense of relief evident in his voice. "Otherwise, I would have crossed paths with the cops right in the middle of the road." Curiously, he dipped his hand into the tranquil waters of the diminutive lake, catching a whiff of something delightful. "What a pleasant scent," he noted, pondering. "Could this be the fragrance of Yuan?" Before long, the aroma of Yuan permeated the air, enveloping the entire expanse of the lake. Seeking answers, he turned inward, addressing his future self. "Is this the manifestation of Yuan Yang's expansion? And if you truly hail from the future, how is it that you're still alive?" He sighed, revealing his own demise 10 years ahead from now on, but somehow he has his consciousness in the void, enabling communication with the present. "As my energy wanes, heed my words carefully," his future self urged. His future self explained the enigmatic nature of Yuan, revealing its impending cultivation by the populace following the forthcoming transformation. "Yuan's release merely heralds the impending change. Tonight, following your absorption of Yuan, I will reach out to you once more." Undeterred, Chen declared, "No one is deceiving me. This all seems straight out of a fantasy novel. I must proceed." The scene before him, akin to scenes from fantastical tales, left astounded, marveling at the rapid expansion of the once diminutive lake. "This is truly magical. I've never witnessed such spontaneous growth." Determined, he resolved to partake in the absorption of Yuan, regardless of its authenticity. As he immersed himself in the essence of Yuan, a system unexpectedly materialized before him, unveiling his awakening talents. "Awakening S-rank talent devourer," the system announced, followed by the revelation of his B-rank talent, awakening talent void and SS-rank talent future link. Startled by the sudden turn of events, he instinctively plunged into the lake, crying out for salvation. "Help! I can't swim!" he exclaimed, as the approaching cops reassured him of their imminent rescue. As the cops approached the lake, Shin activated his Devour talent, causing the water to surge and spread rapidly. In a matter of moments, the once tranquil lake dried up completely, leaving only Shin lying unconscious in its midst. As Shin regained consciousness, he found himself lying in the unknown space, the lake's water now restored before him. Curiously, he cupped his hands, sipping from the lake's rejuvenating waters. A notification from the system flashed before him, announcing the gaining of 10 talent points. Observing the message, Shin couldn't help but feel as though he'd stumbled upon a cheat code. Hastily, he doused himself with the lake's water, triggering a surge of notifications from the system, now awarding him 1,000 talent points. Shin chuckled wryly, acknowledging his newfound protagonist-like fortune after years of hardship. However, his curiosity piqued as the system continued to inundate him with messages about talent points. Pondering over the attributes panel, he noticed several talents, including the coveted S and SS ranks, along with the enigmatic Future Link talent. Shin mused over the nature of the Future Link talent, contemplating whether it had any connection to his encounters with his future self. Deciding to set aside his inquiries for the time being, he resolved to first understand how to utilize his newfound talent points. Suddenly, an earthquake shook the ground beneath him, eliciting beads of sweat upon his brow. Startled, Shin opened his eyes once more, his head throbbing with pain. Before him stood the familiar figure of the young and beautiful cop he'd encountered earlier. Confusion clouded Shin's mind as he struggled to comprehend the situation. "Who are you? And what brings you here?" he inquired, his voice tinged with uncertainty. As Shin caught sight of the alluring cop, a thirst seized him, his mouth watering involuntarily. Pointing her finger accusatory at Shin, the cop demanded an explanation for his presence on the closed-off mountain. Quickly gathering his thoughts, Shin protested. "Officer, there's been a misunderstanding. I came here to camp." The cop remained skeptical, asserting confidently, "He's definitely lying." The lady cop intervened, offering Shin a chance to come clean in exchange for safe passage. "Confess why you're here, and I'll ensure your safety," she proposed. Insisting on his innocence, Shin reiterated, "I swear, I came here solely to camp. I accidentally fell into the lake, and one of your colleagues rescued me." However, the lady cop refuted his claims, declaring, "There's no lake here." Perplexed, Shin turned to gesture toward the lake, only to find it vanished upon his second glance. Desperately, he pleaded, "Believe me, there really was a lake here." It emitted the most exquisite fragrance. Unconvinced, the lady cop ordered her colleague to detain Shin. As the police cars departed, she pressed Shin for his identity. "Shannon, 20 years old. I recently dropped out of college because couldn't afford tuition," Shin confessed, revealing his circumstances. "Financial constraints forced my hand," Shin explained. "I simply wanted to unwind a bit, hence my camping trip." Inspecting Shin's belongings, the lady cop remarked on his preparedness, prompting Shin to silently express relief over his lack of identification. However, the lady cop sensed Shin's deception, drawing her gun and demanding the truth. Shin, sensing the gravity of the situation, implored the lady cop, "Please don't shoot. I'll tell you everything." The cop remained resolute, insisting, "Only the truth will suffice. I don't play by the rules either." In a moment of realization, Shin's gaze fell upon the emblem adorning the cop's uniform, sending shockwaves through him. "They're not cops," he muttered in disbelief. "Then who are they?" Summoning his courage, Shin demanded answers. "Tell me who you are first, then I'll explain everything." Unfazed by Shin's audacity, the lady cop reminded him of her authority, her grip tightening on her firearm. The scene transitioned, revealing Shin's return home, where he tossed his bag onto the couch with a heavy sigh. "Today was a disaster," he lamented, his failed attempts at deception weighing heavily on him. He examined the card given to him by the lady cop, but found no leads. Fear gripped him at the thought of facing her again, prompting him to consider letting go of the matter entirely. Seeking distraction, Shin resolved to visit a cyber cafe, hoping to ease his troubled mind. As he navigated the internet, images of the earthquake's devastation flashed before him, eliciting a sense of sorrow. Contemplating his next move, he acknowledged the lack of discernible change in his body despite absorbing Yuan's essence. Setting aside his concerns for the moment, Shin turned his attention to messages from a friend, expressing his need for temporary accommodation. "Can I use your old house?" he inquired, seeking refuge amidst the chaos unfolding around him. His friend's response was unexpected. "What? You're still alive?" Shin felt a surge of anger. "Why can't he think positively about me?" he muttered to himself, feeling hurt by his friend's lack of faith. Why can't he see the good in me? Shin wondered aloud. He's my only friend, and I could really use his help. But instead of support, his friend seemed defensive. You're talking about my house like it's nothing, he snapped, showing little sympathy. Feeling frustrated, Shin began researching the mysterious organization behind the fake cops. He couldn't shake the feeling that something supernatural was going on. Is this some kind of special group that deals with these kinds of things? He pondered, his curiosity fueled by the fact that they had his name and address on file. Despite his efforts, Shin couldn't find any information about the organization. He sighed heavily, running his hands through his hair in frustration. How is it possible that there's no trace of them? He lamented, feeling certain that they were up to something beyond just pretending to be cops. Unbeknownst to him, someone was keeping tabs on his activities. This person reported back to a lady cop named Vev, revealing Shin's inquiries. Determined to uncover the truth, Vev ordered surveillance on Shin, confident she could unravel the mystery behind his investigations. Meanwhile, Shin's friend Ming arrived to pick him up. Shin greeted him warmly, grateful for the support. Ming reminded him they were heading to his new house, cautioning Shin not to cause any damage. As they drove, Shin assured Ming he had no intention of breaking anything. Why would I do that to your house? He chuckled, settling into the car. Concerned that the fake cops might know where he lived, Shin decided it was safer to stay at Ming's new place. Arriving at the empty house, Shin marveled at the spaciousness before him, grateful for his friend's hospitality. Observing his friend's new abode, Shin couldn't help but express admiration. Wow, this house is really impressive, he remarked. Ming, I knew you were well off, but I had no idea you were this wealthy. Ming graciously welcomed him inside, offering refreshments from the fridge and a drink. Make yourself at home, he said with a hint of caution. Just be careful not to break anything, and it'd be wise to find a job soon. Shin nodded in agreement, acknowledging Ming's advice as he pondered the mysteries of yuan absorption and its potential benefits. Opening his stats, he sought to understand his newfound abilities, inadvertently activating a skill that caused the bed beneath him to vanish. Perplexed, Shin turned to find Ming entering with a blanket, only to discover Shin lying on the floor. Confusion clouded Ming's expression as he questioned the disappearance of the bed. Quick on his feet, Shin attempted to divert suspicion. What are you talking about? Wasn't there always just a floor here? He teased, suggesting Ming might have forgotten about the bed. Doubt gnawed at Ming as he contemplated the missing bed, pondering the possibility that they hadn't been in the house for a while. With uncertainty lingering in the air, Ming retreated, leaving Shin to ponder the strange turn of events. His friend, Ming, suggested that perhaps Shin was feeling a bit disoriented after not coming to this house for such a long time. Shin took a moment to catch his breath and expressed his relief that the situation had finally been resolved. However, his relief was short-lived when his friend suddenly appeared again, causing Shin to jump in surprise. Ming said, "By the way, there isn't a bed here, so you might have to sleep on the floor." The scene then shifted to the morning, where only 15 minutes remained until 8 o'clock, and the alarm clock rang loudly. Shin woke up abruptly, disturbed by the sound of the alarm and a phone message notification. Who could be disturbing me in the morning? He muttered to himself, rubbing his eyes. Upon checking his phone, he saw that it was a message from his future self, Shannon. Shannon asked, "Are you alright?" He then inquired, "Have you absorbed that yuan? And what abilities have you awakened?" Shin replied, "Yes, I am doing well now. I trust you. I have absorbed the yuan, and I am feeling much better. And I have awakened 2 abilities, but I am still figuring out how to use them." Shannon asked him to specify which abilities he had acquired. After hearing Shin out, Shannon remained silent for a while, leaving Shin to wonder if something was amiss. "What's the matter?" Shin asked, growing impatient. "Why aren't you replying? Are the abilities I told you not powerful enough?" Finally, Shannon replied, "You have indeed achieved something remarkable. These abilities seem very powerful and will be very useful. I am excited to hear more about them." Shannon then asked, "Tell me what happened yesterday." Shin shared his encounter with Lady Cop Weiwei. Shannon responded, "It seems that she has not yet awakened any abilities, but in a few days she will become very famous and strong. The individual in question is on the path to becoming well-known and extremely powerful, to the extent that he can bring bullets to a halt with his own bare hands." Shannon, upon hearing this, cannot help but express his happiness and ask if he truly possesses such abilities. He then goes on to inquire if this means that he will end up as Shannon's future spouse. Future Shannon, in response, questions whether he had been so disgraceful in the past. He clarifies that he is from the future, and has already shared much information about what is to come. However, Shannon's future has taken a completely different turn since their last encounter. Despite this, future Shannon emphasizes that certain catastrophic events, such as the Yuan Yang outburst, are still set in stone and cannot be altered. Shen is therefore advised to keep this in mind and continue to grow stronger. Shen, feeling confident, reassures future Shen that there is no need to worry about him as long as he continues to receive his guidance. He refers to future Shen as his cheat code. Upon hearing this, future Shen breaks into a smile. At the moment, Shin can be found at his friend Ming's house, with only 17 days remaining to make a difference in the world. As he ponders, an idea comes to him, and he decides that he must take advantage of this opportunity. Shin then remembers that future Shen had mentioned that a specific lady cop will catch a bullet with her own hands, but only after traveling to the northern part. This leads Shin to deduce that she must have unlocked her abilities there. Upon realizing this, Shin concludes that there must have been a recent Yuan outburst in that location. He then recalls that this outburst is set to occur in just 2 days. After making this connection, Shin quickly puts on his shoes and makes preparations to depart. However, before leaving, he decides to grab a quick bite to eat at a nearby restaurant. As he dines, Shin takes the opportunity to check his messages and notices that his sister is currently doing a live stream. She had recently gained popularity after a previous live stream went viral. As Shin watches, his sister announces that she will be singing a song for her viewers. In the midst of this, Shin notices a comment from a viewer who claims to have just watched another live stream, this time of a boy who can create fire with his own hands. Shocked by this revelation, Shin inquires if this is indeed true. Moments later, his sister decides to play the boy's live stream on her own, and Shin watches as flames surround the boy's hands. Convinced that the boy has also unlocked his abilities, Shin continues to watch as the live stream suddenly ends. This abrupt conclusion leaves Shin feeling worried and anxious, uncertain of what may have transpired. Then there is a message that the live stream has been interrupted. That's why the live stream has been shut down. Seeing this, Shin starts screaming. What happened? Did the network go? Or has the power been shut down from there? Then we see in the second scene that there is a fire in a building, and everyone is watching that fire from below. And that fire has increased a lot. Then we see Shin who is running on the road. He says that this is the smell of Yuan. Then we see Shin who is running on the road. He says that this is the smell of Yuan. It seems that this is the awakener that I was watching on the live stream. He quickly reaches below that building. As soon as he looks towards those walls, he finds bloodstains on those walls. He then starts moving forward from there, and he reaches the other side of that building. But there is no one there. Then a shadow comes there, which is looking at him. That shadow belongs to the same person who was doing the live stream a while ago. He takes out a fire from his hand and throws it towards Shin, and Shin quickly dodges it. But that guy was severely hurt and falls on his knees. He takes care of himself and says that, "Have you also come here to catch me?" Then, without getting a reply from Shin, that guy keeps looking towards Shin, and Shin is also looking towards him. Then Shin replies to him that, "I just came here to see. I want to know how you can throw fire with your own hands. When did you start doing all this? And who is capturing you?" Then that guy asks Shin that, "Are you not with them? So what about the earthquake that happened last night?" Then Shin tells him that, "I know about that earthquake. But where were you yesterday?" As soon as he was going to respond to the Shin, we see that 2 people are standing on the wall there. Both of them feel that there is someone here, and when they look up, 2 people are standing there with guns. Because of those 2 people standing with guns, both of them shout no. They take their guns up and start firing towards Shin. Somehow, both of them come under cover. Shin wonders why these 2 want to catch that guy. When Shin looks at him to ask him, he has already left from there. Shin gets angry at him and says that, "How did he run away without telling me? Now these 2 will chase me." Then Shin tells them that, "You 2 stop, I am not him. Then why are you chasing me?" But they keep firing at him without listening to Shin. Shin tries to run away from there, but they chase him with guns. Then they realize that he is not the one they were chasing, and he is just an ordinary person who is going from here. They tell Shin to keep your hands on your head and walk slowly from here. Shin says okay, but don't shoot. They tell Shin that, "Kids, tell us the truth, and don't even try to run from here. Otherwise, you can lose your legs." And they tie Shin and go up to Troll. Shin breathes a sigh of relief and says, "I am safe for now." Then the message starts ringing on Shin's phone. Shin tries to open his hands, but his hands don't open. So he puts his hands down on the ground and stands upside down. Because of this, the phone falls out of his pocket. Somehow he catches his phone in his hand, and when he sees that message is from his future self, he says it's a good timing. His future self messaged that, "I forgot to tell you. Don't trust any organization, except the Special Handling Organization, or don't even try to keep in touch with them." Shin messages future Shin that, "Maybe you would have told me earlier, because a while ago, there were people of some organization behind me, and they have caught me too. What should I do now?" Future Shin says, "Don't worry, I am sending you the cultivation method. You see it, remember it. and follow that cultivation method. Shin reads that cultivation method. He adopts the breathing method from that cultivation method, and according to that, he starts his cultivation. Future Shin tells him that all these cultivation methods he was going to give him after absorbing the second wave of yuan energy. But because of all these things, now we have to move the plan forward. After a while, after practicing that breathing method, he easily breaks those handcuffs. Because of that breathing method, his body has become very strong, and he starts feeling it. Then to check his strength, he punches the wall, and after punching the wall, the whole wall starts to crack. Future Shin asks him that, "How is the breathing method feeling?" Shin replies that, "This is very good. My body is full of strength. This is how I am feeling." Then those people come to Shin, and after seeing Shin open, they say that, instead of running away from here, this boy has nerves of chatting on his phone. It seems that he is not afraid of us. Then the other man puts a gun on Shin's head and says that, "Our plan failed because of you, and now you will have to bear the consequences of this." And as soon as the trigger is pressed, Shin reacts quickly and kicks him hard. Because of this, his gun falls down, and when the other man tries to fire at him, he jumps so high that no normal person can jump at such high. Seeing the bullets, Shin says that, "If I keep running like this, my death is final." So he quickly activates his Devour talent, and that talent starts soaking everything in itself. And when the Devour talent pulls the bullets inside itself, it quickly activates the Void talent, because of which those bullets get crushed by the Void. Because of Shin's Devour talent, those people also keep pulling inside that black hole. Then Shin starts to sweat all over his body and says that, "I can't control it anymore, and this skill will be deactivated at any time." And when Shin's skill gets weaker, those people somehow run away from there, and those people say that, "We don't know about his talent, so we have to report the organization as soon as possible." Shin has a headache, and he says that it seems they are finally gone, and because of exhaustion, he falls down there and becomes unconscious. When he opens his eyes again and takes his phone in his hand, it is 12 o'clock. He asks future Shannon, why was he unconscious after using skill? Future Shannon replies that, "This happened because of your mental energy exhaustion, and as soon as you absorb ki, you will be fine again. But you are not powerful yet, so don't use your skill again and again. If you use your skill, your spirit will be depleted, and that's why you will be in great danger." Shin asks him, "But what should I do now?" "You have to go to the northern part and absorb yuan in 2 days. Future Shin replies that, "Nothing will happen to you. No mental energy is depleted when absorbing yuan. In fact, mental energy increases when yuan is absorbed." "And what happened to the people who were after you?" Shin replies that they all ran away. Future Shannon tells him that, "You have to be careful from now on. They will definitely come after you again. If you meet them in the future, try to kill them, because the world has changed. That's why you have to get rid of your fear, and you have to survive in this world." Then Shannon stands up with enthusiasm and says that no one can scare me. Whether he is a human or a monster, I will change my future. Then we see that burning man stands behind the wall, and he is talking to someone. He is talking to Miss Jing. "Miss Jing, are you interested in this person?" Then the woman replies that you just observe him. There is no need to hurry. After observing him, if we found out that he is very skilled, we will invite him to our organization. Then Shin feels that someone is watching him, but he says that there is no need to think about it. Then there are 4 people behind him, and Shin falls unconscious there. When Shin opens his eyes, he says that, "Why am I always unconscious?" And when he looks ahead, there is a lady cop who asks him, "Tell me the truth, where were you this afternoon?" He questions the lady cop, "What is your problem with where I go and what I do? Do I need to report to you, even if I have a stomachache?" Knowing his lie, the lady cop responds, "So, this time you had a stomachache." Shane moves closer to the lady cop and says, "Or is it because I look handsome, and that's why you're interested in me?" The lady cop blushes and replies, "You can't be serious in this situation. If you do this again, I will catch you." Shane then says, Okay, I won't do it again." Shane asks the lady cop, "What do you do, after all? Why don't you tell me?" The lady cop replies, "Knowing a lot can be dangerous for you, so it's better not to know anything." The lady cop further asks, "Did the man who told you to go to the mountain last time contact you again?" Shane shakes his head and replies, "No." The lady cop then says, "If he contacts you in the future, tell me first." Shane acknowledges and says that lady cop is very smart, which is why I have to be careful in the future. Shane quickly closes his eyes and enters the space where he had devoured everything. He notices guns lying around and picks one up. He ponders, "Every time I come here, what state is my body in?" As he enters the space, it is revealed that his body is in a sleeping state. He then wonders, if I can bring things inside, can I take them outside as well? He decides to try and picks up the water containing yuan. He successfully brings it out, and fills it in a bottle to prevent it from spilling. Shane then says, "Now, I have to bring back Su Ming's bed." As soon as he brings the bed back, Su Ming enters the room, happy, and says, "Have you brought a new one?" Shane responds, "I have brought it from the second-hand market." Then, his gaze shifts towards the water-filled bottle on the table. He asks, "Have you brought the new flavor of Coca-Cola?" Ming thanks Shane for bringing the new flavor of Coca-Cola. Shane is about to explain when Ming drinks the water. Ming asks Shane, "Why does it taste so strange?" Shane replies, "You didn't even see what it was before drinking it." Suddenly, Ming starts to experience severe stomach pain. He quickly rushes to the toilet. Shane advises him to take care of himself. Shane places the bottle on the table and says, "Ming, you're in for a rough night." He adds, "I don't know what happens to an ordinary person after using it." Meanwhile, Ming starts practicing. A lot of aura leaks from his side due to his cultivation method. A girl, who is keeping an eye on Shin, says, "This is the tiger breathing technique of the ancient sect. This boy has a lot of potential, but the bad news is that this cultivation technique is incomplete." Ming comes out of the toilet. Shane inquires, "Are you okay? Do you need to go to the hospital?" Ming replies, "No, I don't need to. I'll be fine if I sleep at night." He then asks, "What was that drink? It was scary." Shane takes a deep breath and says, "You're finally okay." The next day, Shane reaches the place where the second yuan energy outburst was supposed to happen. Two bodyguards stop him and ask, "What are you doing here? It's forbidden for normal people to come here." Shane replies, Yes, okay, I'm leaving." He starts searching for ways to enter the manor. There are cameras everywhere. His future self warns him, "There will be a jungle ahead of you. Go around it. There will be a place from the back to enter the manor." Shane follows his advice and finds a big fence. He uses his force to break the fence in two directions. Shane says, "There are a lot of wild animals in this manor. I don't even know if it's true or not." He finds a wooden board that reads, "Danger, no entry." Shane receives a message from his future self. "Did you enter the manor?" His future self adds, "There are still 10 minutes left, when there will be a lot of trees in that manor. Yuan Yang will be concentrated there. Don't miss this chance." Shane says, "What?" This time, there won't be a lake here, but there will be trees. Suddenly, a wild animal appears from the broken fence. Shane hears it and turns back to say, "No, I have to run away from here." He starts thinking, "If I run away from here, the beast will easily outrun me. I can't run faster than this." Then he starts thinking, how can these rich people have such scary hobbies of keeping wild animals as pets? He doesn't understand what he should do. After all, should he run away from here or try to scare the beast away? And that wolf is slowly moving towards him. Then Shane finds out a scary thing. This wolf is mutated, and this normal wolf is very powerful. Shane is running away from there, and the beast is chasing him. Then Shane sees a tree ahead. He pivots his foot on the ground, and to escape from that wild wolf, he jumps in the air. But because there is a tree ahead, that wild wolf collides with it, and that's where its head breaks by colliding with the tree. Shane jumps down. Then that wild wolf is lying there, so he devours that wild wolf with his devourer skill. He looks at his mobile, and says that 5 minutes are still left for the yuan outburst. Then an earthquake occurs there. He thinks that he should climb the tree to escape from that earthquake, so he climbs the tree and asks, "Is it enough?" But then he sees some people down there, who are shouting something. So there is the same lady cop, Wei Wei. Then she is giving orders to everyone there that this is an ordinary earthquake. There is no need to be afraid of this. Everyone stand properly in their own place. If anyone does not follow orders, they will be punished. She looks at the people and says that a lot of people have come here, and he wonders how the lady cop, Wei Wei, found out about this place. He says that this time it will be right to be careful, so he wears a mask on his face and takes out the phone from his pocket. Then he asks his future self that just now there was an earthquake here. What is the matter? His future self says that you do not worry. This is a sign before the yuan outburst, and the more vibration you have, the closer you are to the yuan outburst. You just have to be ready to absorb that yuan. Then Shin feels very confused and he says that maybe the yuan outburst has started. Then we see that the trees there are growing and taking different shapes, and their roots are coming out of the ground. Then the lady cop and soldiers get scared upon seeing this. When Shin descends from the tree, he notices that all the trees have changed into different shapes. Upon touching one tree, he remarks that it feels completely solid. He sits down to utilize his devour skill. By activating it, he pulls all the trees into his secret space. As a result, his talent points also increase. Surveying the trees within his devour space, he exclaims, "I am going to be rich now. I am going to be rich now." However, he ponders when he should devour these trees. Reflecting on his surroundings, he notes that the space seems much larger now compared to his last visit. speculating that it will continue to expand as he absorbs yuan. He wonders if his skills will also be upgraded accordingly. Deciding to upgrade his talent skill Devour, he presses the button. The system confirms the upgrade, notifying him that his Devour skill and space have been upgraded. Shin is overjoyed to witness his skills advancing. Meanwhile, the scene shifts, revealing a soldier informing the lady cop of someone sitting nearby. Shin is depicted devouring the trees as the lady cop instructs the soldier to keep watch. She decides to investigate, but as she approaches Shin, a tree branch cuts her hand. The soldier suggests bandaging her wound, but she insists he attend to Shin first. While she tends to her wound, it miraculously disappears, leaving her bewildered as she questions how it vanished. Then, gunshots rang out. A bullet struck one of the soldier's heads, jolting Shin awake. He asked, "What kind of noise is this? Can't I sit quietly?" As he looked around, he saw a bullet hurtling toward Lady Cop. Shin shouted a warning, and Lady Cop, startled, saw the bullet just in time to catch it in her hand. Both she and the soldier were taken aback. The soldier remarked, "The team leader caught a bullet with her hand." Lady Cop opened her hand and saw the bullet in her palm. Suddenly, an unknown organization appeared with guns. Lady Cop and the soldiers prepared their shields and guns, while Shin found himself caught in the middle. As he moved to the side, he saw the soldiers kill the organization's members. The members then committed suicide, leaving the cops without any clues. Lady Cop remarked, "They are professional killers, and they belong to a trained organization." A soldier then brought Shin to Lady Cop, asking, "Team leader, what should we do about this?" Lady Cop asked Shin, "Who let you in here?" Shin, still tied up, joked, "Can I lose my legs?" He repeated the joke. "Can you lose the hands that are holding me?" Lady Cop then ordered the soldier to let him go, and Shin, now free, stumbled forward and fell on top of the 2 watermelons that Lady Cop had in front of her. Embarrassed, Lady Cop scolded him, but before she could say more, Shin's foot connected with the soldier's face, knocking him out. Shin, now with everyone's attention, declared, "You are a man. Don't you know what to do when a beautiful girl is in front of you?" The soldiers and Lady Cop were shocked to see Shin's strength, as he had knocked out the soldier with just 1 kick. Lady Cop then ordered the soldiers not to use their guns. "I'll teach him a lesson." They ordered the Lady Cop and her soldiers not to use their guns. "I'll teach him a lesson," Shin taunted as he prepared to kick. However, just as he was about to make contact, Shin grabbed his leg and infused his yuan into her foot, saying, "Your strength is adequate." The Lady Cop pulled her foot back and retorted, "You worthless boy," Shin replied. "Your speed and accuracy are impressive, but your temper is terrible." The Lady Cop attempted to kick Shin, but he easily evaded her attack. She wondered aloud, "How can your accuracy be so precise?" As Shin ran away, the Lady Cop shouted angrily, "I will definitely kill you later, if not now." Realizing that Shin's strength had increased since the beginning, she questioned, "Did you just stabilize my strength?" Meanwhile, Shin continued to flee, encountering a massive snake in the jungle. As he marveled at its size, a wild boar charged towards him. Shin quickly dodged the attack, and the boar collided with a rock, losing consciousness. What a great opportunity, Shin thought, as he reached out to devour it. However, there was no response from his devour skill. He deduced, "I don't think I can devour living beings." He then killed the boar and consumed it. Upon reaching the city, Shin went to a restaurant, where the maid greeted him. As he sat down, he noticed a ZZ in the restaurant, promoting her food event to her fans. Shin remarked, "There's a ZZ in this restaurant." The ZZ asked him who he was, and Shin replied, "I'm a longtime fan of yours." The ZZ invited Shin to join her live stream, and they began talking. Her fans commented, "He's so handsome. Why don't you marry him?" The ZZ replied, "He's handsome, but I don't know his character." She then suggested, "Why don't we follow each other?" However, a strange man interrupted them, eating their food. He looked unusual, like a zombie. Shin quickly tosses the man aside and asks, "What are you doing?" As he looks around, he sees that the people who ate the food have turned into zombies. When he glances in another direction, he notices that those who consumed the meat in this restaurant have become frenzied, fighting each other to eat more. One of them approaches the sister, who, trembling, falls into Shin's lap and pleads, "Save me." Shin kicks the man back with his foot. After some time, Shin manages to subdue the crazed individuals. He turns to the restaurant staff and asks, "Where did you get this meat?" They respond that a man brought it the previous day at a cheap price, so they bought it to save money. The man looked different, with unusually large eyebrows. Shin tries to recall if he has met someone like that recently. Shin asks the staff to hand over all the meat. The manager complies, but requests that Shin leaves a positive review. Meanwhile, The sister confesses that she was merely trying to get his social media ID. Shin texts his future self. I saw people today who went crazy after eating the restaurant's meat. From that meat I can smell youth. The future Shin responds, this meat is from a mutant beast, and ordinary humans cannot consume it. The future Shin explains that if normal people eat it, their brains will be damaged and filled with negative emotions, causing them to go completely mad. Shin asks, will I also go crazy by eating it? The future Shin replies, no, we are different now. We have absorbed youth energy, so this meat will only provide us with energy and increase it. The future Shin informs Shin that a fire-breathing boy gave him the meat a few days ago. Just then, Shin receives a phone call from his friend Ming, who says, I am going to eat today, and I can't sleep with you tonight. You will have to sleep alone. Shin is surprised and asks if he has drunk any wine. In Ming's room, we see his body mutated, and he has awakened some talent. Ming says, I have superpowers now, and the whole world is on my shoulders. That's why I can't live with you anymore. He recalls a memory where he stopped two bikers from stealing a lady's purse, discovering his superpowers. Ming apologizes to Shin. I'm sorry, Shin. Now we are not the same. Don't blame me. Then someone comes to Ming's door, and Ming asks who he is. Then they come in forcefully without Ming opening the door. Shin received another message from future Shin, warning him that in 3 days, another yuan energy outburst would occur at Wanyan Mountain. It wouldn't be found on any map, so Shin had to find it himself. This time, he needed to be prepared because people from many organizations would be there. After finishing his dessert, Shin started looking for Wanyan Mountain, thinking that he didn't know what the organization did, but he had to be ready with his abilities. Just then, he received a call from his college friend, who told him that he had found a job for him. Shin was happy to hear this because he was running out of money. His friend said that he had to do the job of a bodyguard and protect an important person at a food event the next day. Shin was happy and agreed to take the job. When he heard the name of the place, Shin remembered that Zizi had also talked about it in her live broadcast. He was happy that Zizi would also be there and started thinking about whether he would be able to meet her. Zizi was also thinking about him, wondering how he had defeated 4 people in one punch. She got shy thinking about it and hoped that they would be able to meet the next day. The building of the food event was heavily decorated, and a lot of people had come there. When Shin met Zizi, she asked him what he was doing there. Just then, his friend came between them and said that Shin would have an interview soon and had to protect the big star, Yushi. His friend told him that many people had asked for this job, but he had kept it for Shin and asked him not to embarrass him. Shin assured his friend that he didn't need to worry because it was just a security guard job, and he could handle it easily. When his friend was taking him for an interview, the guard stopped them and asked why he had chosen a monkey-like boy. The guard looked at Shin and thought that he didn't even eat properly. Shin's friend started convincing the guard that he was very strong and that he had seen him fighting before. The guard said that there was no need for him because Phone was there for the interview, and no one could stand in front of him. Shin's friend got angry and said that he couldn't reject him without trying him. Shin said that it was not a problem and that he would fight with Phone and defeat him. Zizi heard all this and started thinking that she had heard that Phone was a black belt taekwondo champion, and wondered if Shin would be able to defeat him. People started making fun of Shin, saying that he won't be able to even stand in front of Phone. His hands are so thin, and his body size is not even big, Zizi commented, coming to Shin's defense. You haven't seen him fighting. He will definitely win. Shin thanked Zizi, causing her to blush. Shin stepped forward to fight Phone, who asked, Do you really want to fight with me? Shin nodded, and Phone suggested, Let's start the fight without talking. Phone lunged at Shin with a punch, but Shin easily dodged it. Shin then placed his hand on the floor, spun around, and kicked Phone, who managed to stop the kick with his hand. However, the force still sent Phone falling backward, where he hit the guard who had stopped Shin earlier. Shin approached Phone to help him up and apologized. I put too much force. Can I pass now? Phone replied, Yes, you can pass the interview. Phone then admitted, Your strength is more than mine. You will personally guard Yushi. I will stand on the side. Zizi watched happily as Shin won the fight. Zizi's friend approached Shin and said, Zizi wants to add you to her personal friend list. The crowd suddenly became very emotional and started crying. Meanwhile, the guard walked away to an open area and reported to his boss. The man I was guarding is down. We need to come up with another plan. He continued, Phone and Shin are both powerful. We need to find a way to deal with them. The boss reminded him, If this mission fails, don't forget who you follow. The guard replied, Yes, boss. I will not let the organization down. As Zizi and Shin were adding each other to their friend lists, the crowd suddenly started screaming. Shin looked around in confusion and asked, What is happening? Just then, a supercar zoomed towards them, and superstar Yushi stepped out. Shin got into the car and said to future Shin, "I have accepted the bodyguard job. I am now a bodyguard for a superstar." Future Shin replied, "I also got the offer for this job, but I couldn't defeat Feng, so I was rejected." Future Shin then warned Shin, "Yushi will be hijacked. You have to be careful. Yushi is involved in something, and he can be hijacked." At the food event, everything was ready, and Yushi arrived with a large crowd. Zizi stood in the crowd and remarked, "There are so many people here." Shin was handling his job carefully, causing Zizi to feel jealous. She thought, how nice it would be if Shin was the bodyguard. Seeing Shin's diligent work, Yakshur starts to wonder why he seems so serious. Yakshur approaches Shin and thanks him for handling the job so well, handing him a towel. Shin replies that it's his duty. Meanwhile, Shin starts to use his senses to investigate the area. He notices that there's nothing out of the ordinary, but there are many people carrying boxes around. Shin takes a closer look at the fruits in the boxes and realizes that something is off about them. He asks one of the men what's inside the boxes, and the man replies that they contain fruits that will be given as prizes for the competition. These fruits have been specially brought from the mountains, and Shin suspects that they might be full of yuan vitality. However, he can't understand why the organization wants to hijack Yakshur or if Yakshur has anything to do with the situation. As he ponders this, the event starts, and Shin takes the stage to give a speech. Suddenly, a man screams from the middle of the crowd, declaring his love for Yakshur and crossing the safety border. Feng tried to stop the man, telling him that it is forbidden to go beyond that area. However, there was something off about the man, and he pushed Feng hard, running towards the stage. Everyone assumed the man was normal, but he was not. Shin stepped in between Yakshur and the man, kicking him in the face, causing him to fall to the ground. Shin questioned the man, asking who sent him, but the other bodyguard intervened, instructing them to take the man away. The fan and guard escorted the man out of the area, and Yukshi's assistant approached, asking if Yakshur was alright. Yakshur responded that they were fine. Shin signaled to Feng to follow him, and they went to a private place to talk. Shin shared his concerns with Feng, expressing that Yakshur might be in danger the following day and that some people might attempt to hijack Yakshur. Feng assured Shin that he would increase security measures as much as possible the next day. Later that evening, Shin took a shower and went to bed, relieved that the only danger they had faced that day was from the overzealous fan. However, before sleeping, Shin sat in his meditation pose, scanning all the rooms to ensure everything was in order. During his scan, Shin discovered that Yakshur was his father, and he couldn't find him in his room. Shin wondered, if Yakshur is not in his room, then where is he?